everyone. I'm Beth Purcell with True North Academy, and today we are giving you a behind the scenes look at one of the amazing live online classes delivered by one of our brilliant teachers. If you've ever wondered what actually happens during class, or will this teacher be a good fit for my student? Well, you are in the right place. This is where you're learning experience test drive occurs. So get ready, buckle in. Instead of simply telling you about a class, today we're going to show you. I'll be stepping into the role of student here in just a moment while our True North featured teacher leads me through sample lesson or activity and kind of gives us some information, just like they would with their own students. So let's jump in and meet today's teacher. Welcome, Angie Ferrell. With me today is Angie. Welcome, Angie. It's so great to see you. So great to have you here with us. So, Angie, I have a
Thank you.
question before we get started, before I turn it over to you. I have heard you say that every teacher, every teenager should be made to write a bad poem. Every teenager should be made to write a bad poem. Why is that?
Well, I'm going to try to match your energy today, and I appreciate it because usually my students aren't nearly as energetic as you are when we first log into class. So that's really that's really great. Um, well, that is one great thing about teaching, though, isn't it? We can mirror that, and they can mirror it back to us. So, yeah, we spend our days surrounded by all this perfection, right? Especially in the age of social media. We see it on the screen, but the truth is, the first step towards beauty is almost always a clumsy and awkward or even bad first draft. So today I want to talk about why and how that messy happens.
Mhm.
So
All
think
right.
about this. And so I'm not talking to you quite like you're the student, but consider this. Most students really view poetry and even writing in general, you know this as a writing teacher, as kind of a highbrow, inaccessible artifact. It's this difficult thing I have to do, and I have to have it just so, right? I have to get it perfect. I
Yes.
have to find this deep hidden meaning, right? Because it's a poem, right? We're trying to recreate, something epic.
Yeah, Miss
Um,
Farrell, I can't do that. I don't have that kind of creativity. I'm not creative at all.
I understand that. And it's doesn't surprise me that you would feel that way because when we think of poetry, we don't think about terrible poetry. We think about Frost and Longfellow and Shakespeare, right?
Hmm.
And we have these very high level examples at our fingertips, and we think that that's what we're supposed to recreating. And so while it's fun to read those poems, when it comes to writing them, we fear the blank page. And I think that's true not just for poetry, but really even just writing in general. You, I'm sure, could confirm that in your experiences when you've sat down to look at that blank page, that we sometimes forsake the good or even bad because we're trying to create the perfect. So,
Hmm.
the first thing I want you to understand is that poetry is one of first of all, we need to understand the purpose of poetry, okay? Poetry is the way that humans speak of things like awe and grief and love, deep, deep emotions,
Hmm.
and our longing for God. And it allows us to explore this paradox of living, right? The idea of suffering and redemption in the human experience. And so poetry does have a rare, unique purpose beyond regular writing in that it's there to illustrate or mirror the created being made in God's image. And we, as poets, are trying to arrange the words on the paper in a way that reflects our authentic state, right? And poetry is important because it creates a cultural snapshot, or sometimes we call that an artifact of a certain time and place or activity that we're involved in. And so, while that's the purpose of poetry, we have to understand that writing a bad poem is part of that developmental process, that stage.
Well,
Okay.
I
It's
might can do
actually,
that. I might can
yeah,
write a
it's a
bad poem.
step in the writing process. That's the mistake that you've made all along when you stared at that blank paper, is that you thought you had to sit down and create something that was going to be this masterpiece.
Right.
And that is not how any writing works. The first step is always getting something on the page that probably is bad. So I wrote a really dumb poem just to get, and I did this off the top of my head when I was driving in the car because I think about what students come up with when they feel really frustrated because I've
Mhm.
just told them to put something on the page. And they always start with the roses are red. You remember those poems, right?
Oh, yeah,
Roses
I
are
do
red.
that.
So this is what I came up with. Roses are red, violets are blue. Teacher wants me to write a poem and I don't know what to do.
I love that. Oh, now would that be an acceptable point for me to start with?
Absolutely. Why not? Just put something on the page. That's why I said the process, that's part of the process. The bad writing, just dropping something down, gives you a starting point, and that's perfectly okay. It's baby steps. And then once we have something on the page, it becomes sort of soil upon which we can plant something better. We
Mm.
can use tools to grow our flowers, right? To curate our product. Now, I want to talk to you about this idea that writers, and I tell people this in my literature class too. Great lot writers don't just sit down and just pour this novel out of themselves. It's usually done in many, many, many drafts. And often, well, nearly every writer would say that the first draft of whatever it was they were writing, whether it would be a story or a poem, was terrible.
Mm.
And that's okay. That's the whole point. You put down a framework and then you begin studying your words and looking at patterns and looking at style and
Mm.
applying tools. It's kind of like building a birdhouse. I think about, right? You start with a few sticks, right? And you have to craft them together into something that's more beautiful. So for all writing, it's not an event, it's a process. Okay.
Mm. So you're talking about when you were teaching us about alliteration, that's like a tool I could use with my poetry?
Yeah, so alliteration is when we repeat a sound.
Hmm.
We have metaphor. A lot of people, most students have heard of metaphor. Have you heard of metaphor? Do you know what that
Hmm.
is? Where
Hmm.
you use something to represent something else. If we
Yeah,
say
my mom
something's,
uses those a lot when she's trying to teach me stuff. So talking, comparing things, right? It's
yeah, so if
compare.
we're talking about something that's peaceful, we might call it a dove, or
Hmm.
something that is strong, we might say it's like a stone, or
Hmm.
so we use, and it's actually a more creative way rather than to just write down, okay, she was this and she was that. We use the metaphor to say she was those things, and then you have to use your mind to understand that's what this person is if we're describing them. So it makes the writing more interesting for the reader. It engages them because you can say, well, that grass is really green and that sky is really blue. But it's so much more fun to say that it's the color of a, I don't know, a robin's egg. The morning was the color of
Hmm.
robin's egg. And then you have to think about, oh, I know what a robin's egg looks like.
Yeah.
Oh, now in my mind's eye, I can see that shade of blue that they're talking about.
Okay.
So it allows the person to actually put the image that you're describing into their mind, right?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to read you my updated Roses Are Red poetry. And this is kind of done a little bit in the style of Homer, but not quite. Just more, I'm using a lot of antique language here, but we'll see if you can laugh at it. It's okay. It's still probably pretty terrible, but I think it's fun. So, oh, rose, once bright with the fire of a crimson dawn, and violet died in the hue of a dark sea. So there's our red rose and our blue
Oh, yeah.
violet.
Yeah. I can.
Sing of the instructor, that stern commander of souls, who demands of the youth a song. Stand as witness to my witless and wondering heart, for the command has been
Mm,
issued for a psalm.
mm. I think I heard some of that alliteration you've been teaching us
There
about.
was there was alliteration in there that the witness,
Yeah.
witless and wondering,
Yeah.
and the stern.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stern souls. Anyway,
So, Miss
we
Farrell, that poem is says about the same thing as your first poem,
it
just in a
does.
better way.
Yeah, it's in a more fun way and
Yeah.
whimsical, and it's building our language, our diction. It's just allowing us to have some fun with it, which is what I really want you to do. I want you to have fun with the things that you're expressing and find joy in it, right? Because
Yeah.
that's really what written expression should evoke, I think.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
beauty, reflecting.
I can write a bad poem and then rework it to something like what you put together.
Yeah. And I will give you the tools for that. So you don't have to worry that you're going to have to pull all that out of thin air, because that's really what it is this class and all your classes are really about giving you a tool belt of things that you can use in your, not just in your poetry class, but really in all walks of life. Just learning how to have a strong command of language is a craft.
Yeah.
It's an art. Yeah.
Now, what things do I need to take this class?
Oh. Well, you need a Bible, because
Mm.
we're going to use the Bible as the base text for learning poetry. And the reason for that is because all the different poetic structures, all the stylistic techniques that you're going to learn are present in the old Hebraic and King James text.
Mhm.
You don't have to, we're not going to like try to dig in deep to the King James and learn all those archaic words, but we're going to study the poetic structures, and we're going to read those aloud. And that gives us a sense of the tone and the rhythm and the music that's in that text. And I think that we'll really, we'll enjoy that together. And for once, looking at your Bible, not because you have to come up with hard answers in a Bible study, but just to love and appreciate God's words on the page, and how easy they lend themselves to memorization and other things because of their poetic structure.
Yeah.
Poems are great because they're easier to remember than just about anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never really thought about the Bible as a poem
Yeah.
or a book of poetry.
It
That's
has a lot of
interesting.
poetic structure. It really does. The King James more so just because of the way the translators addressed it.
Mhm.
And it really, yeah, when you start seeing it, it's hard to unsee it, because then every time you get to a different section, you go, oh, wow. And I think that's why so many hymns, Christian hymns, are based on a lot of different sections of the King James Bible, because it just kind of
Okay.
has a rhythm to it.
Hmm.
It'll be fun stuff to learn.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited about this class. This is going to be an awesome class. The name of the class is
Crafting poetry.
Crafting Poetry with Miss Angie Ferrell. When is this going to be offered?
So it's on Wednesdays at 12:45 Central.
Okay,
And
12:45.
all you got to do is bring your motivated self. And like I said, in a King James Bible, which you can get online, I mean, I'm going to provide all of the materials and things. So we'll have short little videos to watch and little exercises to do. But the main thing I want you to know, and this is a theme in all my classes, is to be courageous, to not be
Mhm.
afraid to do hard things,
Yeah,
because they don't have to start out hard. You can learn how to break anything that's difficult down to its smallest parts
yeah,
and master it. And then it becomes manageable. It's like, what is that old adage about how do you eat an elephant?
yeah.
One
One
bite at
bite
a
at a
time.
time. That's right.
And
That's
that's how I
right.
approach my classes. Sometimes when I throw out something to the students, they think, oh, this is really big and I can't do it. And I said, absolutely, we don't have that attitude. We're a can-do class.
That's right.
Once I show you the parts,
Yeah,
you should not be afraid. Be a
that's right.
courageous. So they're going to discover that writing, poetry, or otherwise is an act of courage, and that they can do it.
I
And
love
I'll
that.
show them how.
I love that. Well, here's what's interesting to me. So,
Yes.
preteens and teens, they are a ball of emotions. And what
Yes.
better outlet than poetry? Poetry gives
Yeah.
us language for all of those emotions, it
Yes.
our experiences. I
Mhm.
personally think that poetry helps to strengthen and deepen our empathy for other
It
people.
does. Yes.
I think it helps us to process things that are going on in our
Mhm.
own lives. It is an
Yeah,
outlet.
it
And
really is.
it
Mhm.
helps to bridge cultures. If you're
Yeah.
talking about different types of poetry,
Mhm.
as you mentioned earlier, and I 100% believe this, that literature and poetry is a reflection of the author, a reflection of the
Mhm.
culture, a reflection
Mhm.
of the times
Oh,
that
yeah.
that piece is written in, a reflection of history. So poetry is beneficial on so many different
Yeah.
levels, building imagination, building creativity, building perspective, building empathy, building
General value, just
culture.
values. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're
Building.
not going to just be looking at the Bible. I mean, we will also be looking at epic poetry like Beowulf and Dante's Inferno and the Odyssey, just because I want them to see all the wonderful modern examples,
Yeah.
well, or ancient examples of poetry and how people used poetry to tell their story.
And what better way to learn than from the masters, right? From the
That's right.
masters. Okay, so now, Angie, you mentioned other classes. So let's just real quick run through the other classes that you have. So crafting poetry is the one that we've previewed today.
Mhm.
And now American history and film.
Mhm. Yeah,
Tell me.
American history and film is another type of storytelling. We use film to tell the stories of history. We watch feature films, but we also have some weeks where we just do like shorts, YouTube videos, and short films as well. But we use video and shorts and some primary documents and other things, but mostly video for each unit. And we have a lot of fun with that. That's really a fun class. It's a fun way to approach American history because really history is just a story. And stories are much better, I think, when they're told live and orally than they are just reading the written page. Well, in 1895, this happened, and this person was there, and this is what he said. I mean, it's okay, but I'm not big on. I love history, and history from a textbook is just too dry and flat. It's really a story. It should be approached that way. So that's what we do in
Yeah.
class, and I think the kids love that.
It's more than just facts and dates, right?
It is. It really is.
All right, awesome. How about and do you know right off the top of your head when that one's offered? Date time?
Mondays at 3 or 2 o'clock Central
Central.
is
Okay,
history.
Mondays, 2 o'clock Central, history, American history in film.
Mhm.
Intro to Lit and Comp.
Yeah, so Intro to Lit and Comp is an English credit for probably a ninth or 10th grader. It's an introductory Lit and Comp course. So it's really more for a student who's just starting their English journey in high school.
Mm.
We do literary analysis, so we learn how to analyze the stories and understand story structure, but we use short stories. So it's
Oh,
a lot of fun. The kids find it very approachable because they're doing short stories. So they do 1 or 2 short stories every other week or so, and we break the stories down, and then they learn how to write their own short story at the end. That's their final, because then they can demonstrate they understood basic things like plot and conflict. So the kids have a lot of fun with that, and I do as well. So that's
that's
Lit
awesome.
and Comp, and that one is Tuesdays
Okay.
at 2 p.m. Central.
Central. So if I have a student who is really not into reading big novels, this one with studying short stories, this might be the answer.
Yeah, and I've actually had a number of kind of reluctant readers tell me at the end of the class that it really made them more interested in reading because it was very digestible for them. And so that makes me happy because we do read really good stories, classic, the great works of
Yeah,
short
awesome.
stories.
Great to know. Okay, how about high school psychology?
So my primary profession before I became a teacher was mental health. So of course I've got to teach a psychology class.
Of course.
And the thing I love about psychology at True North is it's told from a Christian perspective. So while they learn the entire Psych 1 book, which is a college level course, they can take a CLEP exam at the end and pass it, or if they're in dual degree, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we also spend a lot of time on comparing the different worldviews to a biblical worldview. So there's a lot of analysis of how the ideas intersect, and the kids absolutely love it. We just have the best time. We look at research articles. We have lively discussions in class about all these concepts. And, people say psychology might be a pseudoscience, but I think by the end of this class, the students learn that it actually is a science, but not just that it's a science, but that it's still God's subject,
Yeah.
that it very much confirms what we know about creation and how he's ordered things and how wonderfully made we are. And it's not meant to undermine their faith.
Right.
It's really meant to confirm, what they already know and believe about how
That's
wonderfully
awesome.
made we are. Yeah.
What a unique perspective and approach to psychology
Yeah.
in
Love
today's
it. We have a
world.
great
Awesome.
time.
Okay, and then tell me about writing with confidence and research writing with confidence. Tell me about
Yeah.
those two.
And so those are actually the same course, but Writing with Confidence is the whole year, and Research Writing with Confidence is just the second semester because basically the first semester I teach basic writing principles, 5 paragraph essay, persuasion, thesis, and then we do a comparison essay. So all your basic writing structure and style is handled in the first semester. And then the second semester is a full research paper, and it is all about how to use Google Scholar and how to do all your citations. And just it's a very in-depth research project that I
Right.
break down step by step. Again, just like what we did with crafting poetry,
Yeah.
they have the tools, and bit by bit, they look at it at first and say, it's so big. And then by the end, they go, hey, I was able to do that, no problem. So we do the research paper. And if you are a person who maybe already has a pretty good amount of writing, you're good at writing or you understand basic writing, but you've never done anything like the research paper, and you're going off to college, that kind of thing,
Mm.
semester two may be all you need. And so that's why we've broken it up into two options there.
Excellent, excellent. So if I feel confident with my writing, my basic writing, but I'm a little shaky on research and citations, I can just jump in January to the second semester, right?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Because it's a full-grown research paper, it's topics, subtopics, subtopics, it's all
Yeah,
the thing. And I teach them how to use headings. They learn MLA and APA style. So
excellent.
very, very helpful, especially for the student going off to college for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely, absolutely. Angie, these sound great. And what about that class? When is that? When are you offering that one?
Let's see, Writing with Confidence is Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Oh, psychology was Thursdays.
Thursdays. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Now, all of the links to Angie's classes are in the comments. So be sure and click and grab your spot because, hey, they fill up fast, they go quickly. So, a huge, huge thank you to you, Angie, to our featured teacher today. Thank you so much for letting me crash your classroom. And thank
You're a
you
fun
for
student.
sharing with us about poetry and all the good stuff that poetry can give to us. If you think your student would enjoy learning this way and enjoy learning from Ms. Farrell, be sure to check out the class details. Again, in the comments below will be the links to all of her classes and join us for the adventure. Spots fill fast. Grab yours today. And remember that education isn't just about learning facts. It's about discovering new possibilities and new perspectives, curiosity and creativity and growth. So thanks for learning with us today, and we will see you in our next class preview real soon. Thanks, Angie. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Yeah.